Hello, welcome to another episode of Live at MCX, the show where we have conversations with experts, partners, and pros about anything under creative media technology. My name is Larry, as I said, and with me is Majd, our marketing specialist of MediaCast here in Dubai. And we're truly excited to introduce you to our guest for this episode. But before that, just a quick reminder for our viewers on YouTube. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and leave your comments. Your support means the world to us. And for our listeners on Apple Podcast, your 5-star ratings and reviews are invaluable. And if you're tuning in on Spotify, a follow would be greatly appreciated. Now, in this episode, we are so happy and excited to have a conversation with Andy Smith, the manager of Raindance School in Dubai. So, how are you, Andy?
I'm very well, thank you, Larry.
And how are you, Madge?
I'm good, Larry. How are you?
Good, thank
How
you.
are you, Andy?
Good, man.
It's a pleasure having you today. We're so happy to have you today.
Yeah, thank you for joining us today.
Yes. So basically, we'll ask you some questions about you. Let's start with introducing yourself.
Okay, so like Larry said, my name's Andy Smith, or Andrew Smith, as my mother likes to call me, and I'm the manager of the Raindance Film School here in Dubai. I've been working as a professional filmmaker for the last 25 years internationally. I'm originally from Liverpool in the UK, and I moved out here to Dubai to manage the Raindance Film School about 2.5 years ago now.
And Raindance school is it affiliated with there's a Raindance film production, right?
So it's Raindance Film Festival.
Film festival, yes.
So the Raindance Film Festival is over 30 years old now, and it's internationally renowned as a very prestigious film festival targeted towards independent filmmaking, low budget filmmaking, guerrilla style filmmaking. And they run workshops in practical filmmaking throughout the 2 weeks that the festival runs. Then workshops became very popular over the years and include some great alumni, including Christopher Nolan, Edgar Wright, Guy Ritchie. And because of the popularity of them workshops, they decided, you know what, there's a lot of popular demand for this. Let's open our own film school. So they have their flagship campus in London, obviously one now in Dubai, and a third one in Mexico. So students can do a round the world trip learning about filmmaking if they wish to study with Raindance. But my focus is on the campus here in Dubai.
Yeah, speaking of Guy Ritchie, he's one of my one of the favorites in terms of execution of a particular film. So recently I started watching his latest work, The Gentleman. I love it. I really love how the stories are laid out. The you could just imagine how the process of that film was made. So I'm binge watching it. I started last night. I said, oh, this is from Guy Ritchie, and then that's really an interesting TV series from Netflix. So
he's a very stylish mainstream filmmaker, and he has a good sense of humor, very good with dialogue, and I enjoy much of his work.
Very classy. I mean, there's sometimes violence in it, but there's a classy way of presenting violence. It's really different. It's really nice. I love how he presents his work, really, and happy to know that he was once part of Raindance.
Yes.
Interesting. So, what are some common misconceptions about studying film that you have encountered among students?
I'd say the biggest misconception that our students have about filmmaking is that it's easy. Filmmaking is not easy. It's very much a full-time career path. Filmmakers don't have a retirement age.
Yeah,
it's something you need to live and breathe. It's something that you need to sacrifice a lot of your time to do, and often a lot of your relationships. You don't often see your family and friends a lot if you're working around the world on different productions. So that is definitely the biggest misconception. But the students soon learn how hard it is, but they love it. When you love something, when you're passionate about something, it feels more like a hobby than it does a 9 to 5 job.
Really, if you love something that you do, it doesn't feel like a job. It feels like you're just enjoying yourself.
Yeah,
while getting money out of it. Yeah, so
I think John Lennon famously said, "Find something you love to do, and you'll never work a day in your life."
Absolutely.
he also said, "Imagine." No, okay.
Okay, tell us about the technology impact nowadays on film education compared to when you were learning.
So, funnily enough, I've just come from a meeting at Garage Studios here in Dubai, and they are moving into, or have moved into, virtual productions now, where you can recreate any scene or environment, and you can tell this machinery, this technology through Unreal Engine what time of day you want it to be. So this type of virtual production that much of Hollywood is utilizing now, the Star Wars series, The Mandalorian, etc. Whereas before, with film production, it would have cost so many thousands of dollars to fly a crew back and forth to these exotic locations. Now they can do it all in a studio. So that certainly wasn't around when I was going through film school. We used green screens and blue screens to drop in background. So I'd say that is the biggest change in terms of the landscape of filmmaking at the moment, and obviously AI.
Yeah, AI, and you've mentioned that virtual production, the mix of mixed reality with augmented reality, virtual reality, all that are in production. They really change the the way things are being done, being produced. And we've seen different exhibitions wherein they're highlighting this type of technologies. And I also see a lot of the other in one of our episodes, we spoke to one of the CTOs, or the CTO of one of the, like, they are a animation company based in Dubai. And we've had the chance to visit their office, and you'll really see how busy things become, because he was speaking about having like a fun project in between projects. But now, since the demand of virtual production and animation have gone up, they really cannot find a way to squeeze in a fun project in between paid projects. So I think that's really the trend, and you see that as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's important to remember that, though. Any introduction of new technology, it's a tool for
Yes.
filmmakers and essentially storytellers to utilize.
Mhm.
It should never all be about the technology. The technology is there to help storytellers tell their stories in more fantastical ways, I guess.
Mhm.
Agree, absolutely. Can you share some examples of how your students have surprised you with their creativity?
Yes, so the students at Raindance Film School in Dubai are always surprising me with their approaches to the work and the different creative techniques they might employ to tell stories. And they do that on a daily basis. Because the younger generations are so tech savvy, and they are all over this AI tech, and they are able to perceive stories from a different point of view than, say, I might have. So an example of this might be a student come to me recently and said they pitched an idea about this sci-fi post-apocalyptic type story with robots marching about. And I said, you're going to need like epic kind of budget to make this. And they said, well, no, we'll just do it in AI. And I thought, yeah, he could just do it in AI, and that's what he's doing now. So that's one example.
Yeah, compared to, I was, previous thinking of during the 1980s when they released Star Wars with all those, soldiers. Yeah, you need at least a few of them to kind of multiply. And now they don't need a robot to basically, like a physical robot. AI can generate it for them, and that's how the trend is. That's how filmmakers, because filmmaking, like what you said, it's about storytelling. The more access you have to information, or the more access you have to different shots, the better it is for you to be able to tell your story better, right? That's
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So you're like supporting your students in using the AI in the creative aspects, right?
Yeah, so I encourage my students to use it as a tool. Again, it's just a tool. It shouldn't be the whole thing. It should be a starting point, I feel, to build upon. So, for example, obviously, you have something like ChatGPT, is it called? This is how old I am. Yeah, ChatGPT, whereby they can put prompts into that software in terms of generating ideas, of developing their scripts. But I never want the students to just rely on that. I want them to use that type of technology as a place to build from.
How do you balance between teaching the technical aspect of filmmaking and the creative part of it?
Okay, so the curriculum that we teach at Raindance is very holistic, and that's to say we integrate the theoretical and the practical elements of filmmaking together in our delivery of our classes. So, for example, whilst I'm talking about script writing or the construction of a scene, I will also integrate the technical elements of how they might achieve that element, that script element or that scene element from a technical point of view, whether that's through camera or lighting or costume or set design. And that way they're able to put the theory into practice, and they're able to see how the theory motivates the practice, because my students need to understand why they're putting a camera where they are, why they are positioning an actor or a light, or why they selecting a certain color scheme. All these elements that they write at a script level need to be achieved on a technical level, but they all need to have motivation. They should all be telling the story that the writer or the director or the filmmakers are trying to tell.
correct. And yeah, it's all about the intention. And when you get to answer the whys, why do you have this shot, or why do you have this specific elements in your shot, that basically allows you to be able to really, because if you're able to deliver the answers to those questions before the shot or while you're doing the shot, your viewers will have a better understanding of what you were trying to show. And I think that's what separate good directors or filmmakers from the others, because good, from my observation, good filmmakers, they have this really the talent of delivering the story in a in a in a complete way. Of course, there are different ways. There are like artistic way of showing things here and there, but then sometimes the message don't get sent across. And with what you said, the intention and the motivation of a shot, I think that's a very important questions that needs to be addressed in filmmaking.
Yeah. Just to add to that,
Yeah.
we have two pathways that we deliver at Raindance, and one is specifically for filmmakers, and one is specifically for actors. And them two pathways are bridged by their studies in script writing and film history.
Yeah.
So it's important for our filmmakers to understand the theory and practice of actors, and vice versa. It's important for our actors to understand the theory and practice of filmmaking.
Yep.
Because what often happens, and it's not typical for a film school to have acting, tuition within it. So what Raindance is really strong on is the idea that filmmakers can speak the language of actors and actors can speak the language of filmmakers, because often they clash. And we hear a lot about student filmmakers not being able to communicate or direct actors properly, and they're treating them like models or mannequins, when actually, an actor is an art form. To be an actor is an art form in itself. Acting is an art form, just as filmmaking.
In that case, communication is really the key, in terms of delivering the perfect film at the end of it.
Yeah, interesting that the filmmaker should really understand the actor, and if not, then the result is not really as expected, right? Did you face something like that?
So if our filmmakers are able to work with actors effectively, it makes the job of filmmaking so much smoother and more effective and more professional. But we also give our actors the opportunity to make films as well. So they have a proper understanding of the technical elements that go into making a film. And it's very important for an actor, for example, to know what kind of lens is being used on a camera, because if it's a big wide shot, then and they're using, say, a 20mm lens, which makes the image wide, that actor knows the performance needs to be maybe more exaggerated, as if they were on a stage in a theater. Whereas if the camera operator is using an 85mm lens, it might be a bit of a close-up, or it would be a close-up, then they know their movements, their reactions need to be much more subtler. Yeah.
And not a lot of major movements, or else it's gonna be weird.
Because they'll be out of frame if they move too much.
Interesting. What advice would you give to aspiring filmmakers who may feel overwhelmed by the vast amount of information nowadays?
I think everybody, just like everybody can be an artist if they put the mind to it. It's all about practice. It's always about being proactive and never giving up on your dreams and following your passions. And there's a lot of material out there, just say, for example, on YouTube, lots of tutorials and whatnot. Obviously, students or aspiring filmmakers can get in touch with a school like ourselves at Raindance and ask for advice and come in for consultations. But all filmmaking for me starts with a piece of paper and a pen, or a keyboard and a screen, because everything is about story. Story is at the heart of all content creation, whether it be an Instagram reel or whether it be a feature film movie. It all starts with an idea, with a story, with a script. And we all have them in us.
Yeah. And you have to put your feelings to it. You have to, once you, somebody, I don't know if I read it or I just, sometimes you write with your heart, whenever you do the script. So because you'll feel when a script is written by a computer, if it's written by an AI, for example.
Of course.
But it's
absolutely. And I mean, again, we encourage both our acting students and our filmmaking students to really focus on character development, because it is character-driven stories that we resonate with the most, because we're all characters, we're all human.
Correct.
And when we see a character on screen that's expressing emotions that we ourselves feel, we are engaged and we follow the story. We become sympathetic and empathetic to their goals and their trials and tribulations.
Speaking about the stories, can you discuss any trends you have noticed in the types of stories that students are interested in creating?
Well, typically, students want to make films that usually end with someone dying or there being an explosion or some kind of crisis or it's the apocalypse.
They wanted to be really an ending for.
They're very extreme in their ideas. And that's okay as long as their films or their stories aren't being offensive to anybody. We encourage them to open their minds and let their imaginations fly. But at the center of them ideas, at the center of them stories should be authentic characters that we can invest in, that we can believe in, that we want to root for and follow.
So you really recommend to stay away from the sci-fi movies? That I really hate.
Not at all. We encourage our students to work in many genres, whether it be sci-fi, horror, thrillers, romantic comedies, as long as the characters within them universes are authentic and, like you say, speak from the heart and are relatable.
I don't know if you watched Ralph Destroys the Internet.
Sorry, repeat.
Ralph Destroys the Internet. It's actually a
animation.
yeah,
Oh, right.
it's very nice.
Yeah.
It's very nice. It's actually about like really the process of internet, how it's working. Like
Right, okay.
it's very interesting. Actually, they should.
You'll have to share the link with me. It's
Yeah. I should recommend it.
We'll watch it over the weekend. So.
Yeah. Okay, so what role does collaboration play in the filmmaking process, and how do you encourage teamwork among your students?
Okay, so this is massive. You know, collaboration
Yeah.
is a huge part of filmmaking. In fact, it's a very collaborative process. There are so many jobs that need doing on a film set or in a film production. Yes, you can be a kind of one man or one woman band and be a self shooter and editor or videographer. But when productions get bigger, you need more help. You know, you need a camera operator, you need someone on the lights, you need someone on sound, you need an editor, you need actors. So by its very nature, it's collaborative. So if students don't want to collaborate, they're not going to get their films made. And, you know, occasionally students do find it hard to share the ownership of their projects because they want to get it right and they're perfectionists and they want to keep real tight control of their projects. But over the course of the couple of years or so that they're with us, we really educate them in a way to trust their colleagues, trust their classmates, and rely on one another. And, they not only become better filmmakers, actors, and artists for learning them things and them techniques, but it makes them prepared better for the real world in terms of life is a collaboration, life is a team effort.
Life is, whatever you teach in film school, like collaboration, trusting your colleagues or your partners in film. It's really an important value to have, when you get out of film school, because again, taking ownership of something is really crucial. It's sometimes if you get invested in something, it's really hard to let that go. It's really hard to see that that thing get out of you, but then you have to learn to trust, and you have to learn to you have to really learn how to bring in other people into your in your, at least in your way of thinking for that particular project.
Absolutely. And I think, although the theory side of filmmaking and acting is hugely important, it's probably about 30% of what we do. 70% of what we do is hands-on learning. So I can talk as much as I want to my students in a classroom environment about how important it is to collaborate and share ideas and work as a team. But until they're actually out there doing it on a set or on a location, it doesn't really click. But, once the penny drops, they understand that, hey, they need to work as a team. Otherwise, things fall apart very quickly.
Or sometimes things fall apart first, and then they realize that we really have to.
Yeah.
You have to trust this guy.
Yeah. How do you stay updated with the latest development and the trends in the film industry, and how do you deliver this to your students?
So obviously we live in a very small world now in terms of how connected we all are to news sources and the latest trends and whatnot. So the internet is a great source of knowledge for new developments in technology.
Agree.
But more in a kind of more regional and more grounded way, then obviously, there's places like this place, Mediaset, where are always kind of utilizing new technology and new software. And similarly, we have a great relationship with a company called Advanced Media, and we often, have access to new bits of technology and whatnot. But again, as I said earlier, AI is really kind of leading the way in terms of the visual arts at the moment, in terms of, albeit in a controversial way, a lot of people are worried about losing jobs and whatnot, and I understand that. But it's where we are with technology at the moment. It's moving so fast. It's often hard to keep up with it. I mean, I am so behind with technology, but my students, they are on
They're
board.
already into it.
They come and tell me about what's happening.
Yeah.
In terms of technology, I mean, this is something that I thought last week. Madge and I were. I mean, again, we've said this in our past episodes. Madge and I came from two different age groups.
Yeah.
So she represents the younger generation, and I represent the middle age, the middle age guy. So I'm plus 40. She's just
Plus 20.
just plus 20. So there's almost 20 years of difference between us. And the other day we were discussing about that it started as a deep fake conversation.
Yeah.
The deep fake stuff. And then one of the things that I specifically noted was, for example, I think the eighth or seventh Fast and Furious, wherein when Paul Walker died during the shoot, they had to recreate his face
CGI.
via CGI in that film. And then the first question she asked is about the ethics of it. Is that something that has been raised as a discussion during your talks with the students?
Yeah, absolutely. And we talk about ethics and morals and whatnot in filmmaking at a script level. We start, at the very beginning of the process with the script. So students will write scripts and then they'll send them to me for feedback. And if there's something questionable in there around the question of ethics or morals, then I'll bring it up with the students and we'll have an open discussion amongst the class about why they've decided to set something where they've set it, or tell a particular story, or create a particular character. So it starts very early on, but obviously, in terms of the AI debate, obviously people's look, people's personalities, people's gestures, people's speech is starting to get copied and mimicked, and it's
It's a must. It's really a must,
It's
actually.
ethical, correct.
Can you share a memorable success story of one of your students in filmmaking?
Yes. So last year, one of our students, she was a very young student for us to take in. We usually our age range of our students is usually 18 and above. But there are exceptional cases where maybe a younger student will join Raindance. And in this case, we had one student called Melina, and she'd studied at Heartland School in Dubai. And she was doing her A-levels, so she was only 16, 17 when she first come to us. And she'd been recommended by one of her school teachers. And even though she was doing at A levels, she still managed to do the 2-year course with us
Okay.
and get a distinction. And one of her films was entered into the Sharjah Film Festival. And she was the youngest female filmmaker
Wow.
to be selected for competition in the Sharjah Film Festival. So that was a real successful story for us and for her and her family. And you know, it's great when our students excel and go on to again follow their dreams and fulfill their passions as artists.
You must be really so proud of
Yeah.
that stuff.
Yeah, I am. I mean, I don't really take time to think of it in that way, but you know, when you say it like that, then yeah, of course I'm proud, and I care about them very much. Although I know they think I give them a hard time, but yeah.
It's always about the success of the mentor, actually. So
Yeah, and if you really, you know, you said it yourself. If you care for someone, I mean, for your students, you know, you just want them to be successful. You just want them to achieve their dreams and be successful in whatever they do. I mean, with or without you, right? I mean, because after,
I mean, at the end of the day, I'm a filmmaker. You know, I still make my own films. I still write my own scripts. So my students are just like younger versions of me. You know, we're all in the same industry. We all have the same dream. We share the same inspirations. So, you know, I don't want to say I think of them as family, but I think of them as colleagues.
yes, good. That's a good way of looking at it.
nice, yes. What are some challenges unique to the filmmaking industry in the UAE, and how do you address them in your teaching?
So there are a couple of challenges, quite prominent challenges that our students and any filmmakers find here in the UAE. First is the heat.
Okay.
Yes.
So it can be very tough, especially if you're filming in the desert, which there's a lot of here. It can be difficult. And that means they have to schedule their filmmaking process differently. They might only be able to shoot in the desert for a few hours before it becomes maybe impractical or even unsafe. You know, you've got to stay hydrated rather. You've got to keep yourself out the sun or in the shade and plenty of protection. But also, you know, you have to take care when in the desert regarding your camera equipment. It's not good if grains of sand get in your camera sensor and things like that. So that would be one of the biggest challenges of working in Dubai for our students, because you know a lot of them want to film in the desert. It's beautiful landscape, you know. So why not? So photogenic, but it comes with certain, you know, certain difficulties. Something else in Dubai, which hopefully Raindance is helping to remedy. Well, in fact, I know we are. That there is a kind of lack of professional actors out here. There's a lot of models, there's a lot of influencers, but you know the percentage of classically trained actors is in the minority here. So we have a great acting instructor at Raindance called Matthew Corbett, and he's a classically trained actor from London, and he does a great job with our students in terms of teaching them the art and craft, theory and practice of acting and screen acting also. So them two things I would point out.
Have you thought of acting as well?
Actually, yes, but that was really a long time ago.
Yeah,
which
there's
I-
Raindance.
so I
You
moved
should come
completely
visit
from
us.
my-
Come speak to Matthew.
Yeah, because I think we had that discussion. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
It was really long time ago. Like I was a kid. And I was thinking because I used to watch like the series and stuff, and like I see how it's actually fun. They are enjoying it. It's hard, but it's fun, and like it's kind of a different way of job working. Like
Yes.
So
I
yeah,
think
but
you're gonna enjoy it.
yeah,
Like what he said. If you enjoy what you do,
yeah, I know, right?
yeah,
Think
she's
about
thinking. She's thinking.
now. I'm thinking about it. Okay, is access to affordable filmmaking equipment an issue?
Is accessing affordable equipment.
Yeah,
Yeah,
especially
filmmaking
for the students.
Well, in the school, we have a range of equipment available for them, from lights, camera, and grip equipment, gimbals, editing stations. But so I'd say no, it's not an issue for our students.
Mm-hmm.
But many of our students want to maybe go and hire equipment, and there's plenty of places in Dubai you can hire equipment. Like I mentioned earlier, Advanced Media is where we usually go, and we have a relationship with them, so our students can get discounts when they're purchasing cameras if they wish. So no, there's no issue so far. Yeah.
And I think the affordability of some equipment brands are also a factor.
Well, definitely. I mean, kit is becoming cheaper. You know, the more technology develops, the cheaper it becomes. The more democratized filmmaking kit has become, say, compared to the last 30 years ago.
Yeah.
You know, everybody these days is walking around with the film studio in their pockets in the form of a smartphone.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, the latest iPhones are pretty good.
Yeah, they
So,
are.
yeah, they're
And-
supportive.
And I think this is where I get really proud of, let's say, Blackmagic Design in terms of, revolutionizing that part of the market. I remember when they first released their cinema camera. I think it's one there. It's one of the displays there. So the idea is like, okay, there's a cinema camera. Here's the cinema camera, $3,000. And that time, the main camera in 2012 for most filmmakers, because that was the rise of DSLRs,
yes.
the Canon 5Ds, 7Ds
Yeah.
at some point. But then when Blackmagic Design released the camera, we were like, oh, why is it only $3,000 or $2,500 if I'm not mistaken?
Yeah, and it's so user friendly. You know, the menus
is.
are very straightforward
Yep.
in the Blackmagic. So yeah, we actually have an Acer at the school.
All right. And when you really fall in love with the owner or the main guy of Blackmagic Design, Grant Petty, wherein he wants people or the students or the filmmakers or anyone who uses their equipment to focus on their creativity or honing their creativity instead of focusing on looking where to get the money to buy the equipment. So your money or your budget should not limit your creativity, and that's when they really become one of the leaders in the industry on providing lower priced equipment. And of
Yes.
course the competition
Yeah.
goes there, and then that kind of changed the landscape of it.
It's healthy. I mean, I encourage my students to learn on as many bits of kit as possible,
Yeah.
because in the kind of freelance arena, they'll be expected to know a lot of different types of cameras or a lot of different types of editing software, a lot of different audio recording devices. You know, there's so much on the market now, and it's great. It's healthy competition.
It is, and we've seen, and I think you're not the very first. Not I think, I know you're not the very first one that I heard that, encouraging their students to use different type of kits, because, yeah, you might be using, say, in your university or in your college, you're using this type of camera, but when you get out of the field, unless you have your own camera, you might be asked to use another brand of camera. The camera, you know how to hold it, to operate it, but at the same time the technical operation of the camera needs to be you need to be connected to it, so yeah, I'm just sorry, I'm just because it's camera, that's why I was like, I feel
He's a
hyped about it.
Can you discuss the role of diversity and representation in filmmaking and how you address these issues in your curriculum?
Well, our school, in all our 3 campuses, are very diverse in terms of the student body. We have students from all over the world, and they bring with them multicultural aspects and flavors with them, in which they tell their stories from that point of view. So we see a lot of storytelling, although it's based in the UAE, in Dubai, it's coming from such a multicultural uh, flavored background. You know, it's a very colorful background in terms of different places people are from and the different experiences they bring with them and the differing points of view of storytelling they have. So, and I think that's a very accurate reflection of Dubai. It's a very multicultural place. It's a very culturally diverse place, and we actively encourage it. We don't have to encourage it because our student body is so culturally diverse.
It actually makes your life easier, basically, since it's more diversified. So
And you know, I'm from the UK. I'm from Liverpool in the UK, and by working with my students, I get an understanding of so many different types of cultures and people's lifestyles and you know, heritage. So it's a beautiful thing. It really is.
Yeah, just like in our office, you know, we have different, you know, different nationalities, and somehow when you really get into that, not community, but that environment, it actually, for me, the way I see it is that it actually enhances your number one view of the world, or view of the world outside your own perspective, which helps you be more creative in a way. So we've seen a lot of, you know, you think of it like, let's say, for example, in music, yeah, it's just a mashup, but when you really look deeply into it, it's basically, you know, two different sounds that are basically mixed, and in the end you produce something that's really good. And that's what's happening in every multicultural environment, and Dubai is a really very, it's a very good place to really observe that,
for
having
production.
yeah, correct.
Yeah. How do you prepare your students for the practical realities of working in the film industry, such as budget constraints and tight deadlines and stuff?
So the projects that we deliver and we set for our students all carry deadlines with them, and I'm pretty strict with them deadlines. But also, we actively put our students into the professional workplace. So we will initiate projects outside of the school with different companies, organizations in Dubai. So when the expo was here, we ran a project inside of the expo with Dubai Cares. We've also done a project more recently at the theme park called Motion Gates. So they were almost professional briefs that were set for the students to deliver upon, whilst the school was being partnered with a professional real life organization. So by working with outside organizations and clients, if you will, students get an idea of the types of pressures and the types of expectations that are going to be there for them or expected of them to deliver in the real world. I'm also very proactive in encouraging our students to go to networking events and meeting industry professionals. So they get used to going up to random strangers within an event like a trade show or something, introducing themselves as a filmmaker, so they're not asking for permission to be what they truly want to be. They're confident with what they're doing, and they're not afraid to say to someone, hey, my name's Joe and I'm a filmmaker. Any chance I could get your WhatsApp or your email? I'd love to send you my resume, etc., etc. So, you know, how you get work as a freelance filmmaker in any part of the world predominantly is through networking and making contacts. So I very much encourage them to do that.
Absolutely right. So
Yeah,
now
this is the
to
time. So
yes or
there's
no question.
there are a few questions here, but you can only answer yes or
Yes
no.
or no.
Okay.
No explanations.
No explanations.
Okay.
Okay, let's start.
This is only like what, 5 questions? Yeah.
5 questions, yes.
Okay.
It is easy to teach filmmaking these days due to students' access to technology. Yes or no?
Yes.
Technology is making the media future of education harder.
No.
Adobe or DaVinci Resolve?
We always ask this question, by the way.
I thought I could only say yes or no.
No.
Choose Adobe
to
or
choose.
DaVinci Resolve.
Resolve.
Okay.
It's okay.
And Adobe.
And Adobe.
AI plays a vital role in today's filmmaking process.
Yes.
Shooting raw in video is important for post-production process.
Yes.
For
It-
them.
Is that something that really encouraged you, like shooting in raw, for film?
Well, yes. I mean, obviously, you need to think about your workflow.
Mm-hmm.
There are considerations to be made in terms of how much storage space you have,
Okay.
whether the machine that you're using is going to be fast enough to process the data in order to grade it sufficiently,
Mm-hmm.
in order to play it back without, it sticking or pausing or whatnot. So, but obviously, when they shoot in RAW, then they have a greater latitude in which to work and, grade and affect the image.
Yeah, and I think with the technology of RAW these days, again, I mean, we're not supposed to talk about brands anyway, but I mean, I just wanna inject this. So, for example, for Blackmagic, when they introduced their RAW codec, it really, kind of, personally, I'm hoping that some RAW codecs out there would follow the same strategy, because the way Blackmagic RAW is being utilized is that half of the processing, even if it's a raw codec, half of the processing is done on the camera. So when you take that raw footage to your workstation, you don't need a powerful, of course you need a decent workstation for it, but at the same time you don't need a crazy powerful systems like how we used to deal with, let's say, codecs like Cinema DNG. I'm saying that because that was the previous Blackmagic codec. Of course, there are other codecs out there from different manufacturers, but the beauty of having a codec that's providing you with the full latitude of your sensor readout without really providing a heavy burden to your workstation after. I think Blackmagic Design has really hit the mark there. And of course, when we speak to different filmmakers in the region and then try to let them try that codec, they realize that, hey, yeah, together with the color science of it and all, it's something that for me, it's really the way the technology would work, especially in filmmaking, sensors, optics, and everything about the camera as a tool. I think we're really seeing a very good future ahead of us in filmmaking. And yeah, that's sorry, I just had to say that.
That's a brief about Blackmagic. Okay, as a final question, what do you hope your students will take away from their time at your film school beyond the technical skills and knowledge?
I hope the students from Raindance Film School in Dubai graduate and have a passion for storytelling and also have a real sense of teamwork, working together, collaborating. But I also hope that their storytelling is something that they're able to utilize not only in their art and crafters, filmmakers and actors, but also in every walk of life, to be able to appreciate their own story, to write their own story, their own life story, okay, through art and creativity.
Yeah, and having access to how say seasoned filmmakers. Of course, when you learn from your elders about the craft that you're working on, I think it's a very good experience that they're getting. Students in Raindance have this good opportunity of really be good because there are people around them that's guiding them.
The great opportunity they also have is because we are associated and
Yes.
we are a child of the Raindance Film Festival. Our students have a unique opportunity to have their work exhibited at that festival, and that festival will soon be developing in Dubai as well. We plan to have our own festival here in Dubai from Raindance Film School, and Raindance has a kind of slogan, and that slogan is, at Raindance, we don't just make films, we make filmmakers.
That's interesting. That's a good closing.
Yeah, it's a really good close.
That's it. So goodbye, guys. It's really interesting.
That was really interesting conversation, Mr. Andy. So, and there you have it, folks. That was Andy. Thank you so much for joining us today. It was really interesting. We will continue to have conversations with interesting and notable individuals in the world of creative media technology here in the UAE, and we look forward to you joining us in the next episodes. Please do follow or subscribe to whatever platform you're viewing this now so you will get notified in exceeding episodes. Once again, my name is Majd.
And my name is Larry, and you're watching Live at MCX.